Hello cardboard lovers, it's Cardboard Badger here, I hope you're doing well, and today we have for you a brand new deck tech for you. Standard legal with cards from Magic Gathering's new set, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We're going blue-white vehicles, basically we're going Starfox, if you can remember this. We are going to be using our foxes and our pilots to crew fantastic vehicles, and possibly if we get a nice selection of vehicles, we're going to be creating an absolute monster, and we will end up with possibly a ginormous Mecha Titan, or even Mech Titan. A 10/10 legendary artifact creature construct, all colours with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, haste, and thanks to some other things, even more. So if you like the sound of that, please continue to watch the video, and obviously if you do like this video and you want to check out more Cardboard Badger in your life, there are plenty of links in the description below. That being said, we will get straight into it with our creatures. We have 9 creatures in total, starting off with 2 copies of Hotshot Mechanic. For 1 white mana, we have an artifact creature, Fox Pilot, 2/1, and Hotshot Mechanic cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. So this is a fantastic 1-drop, especially if our opponent isn't going to respond. We can get in for 2 damage, but the fact that this is able to crew for 1 mana, our largest vehicle, is really, really good. We're also playing 2 copies of Iron Apprentice. For 1 mana, we have an artifact creature construct, and when it enters the battlefield, with a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's a 1/1 for 1, but when the Iron Apprentice dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target creature you control. So we can put this out, we can have it block something, then we can put the counters on something else, make that a little bit bigger, or just have it as a cheap artifact, which is really important because we're going to need multiples if we are going to make our Mech Titan. Up next, we have 2 copies of Kitsune Ace. For 2 mana, 1 and a white, we have another Fox Pilot, a 2/2, and whenever a vehicle you control attacks, we can choose one of the following. That vehicle gains first strike until end of turn, which is pretty good, and also we can untap Kitsune Ace, which again is great because later on we might need this particular Fox to pilot maybe another creature on our opponent's turn. Up next, we have 2 copies of Acquisition Octopus. For 3 mana, 2 and a blue, we have an artifact creature, Equipment Octopus. It's a 2/2, and whenever the octopus or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So we can have this down, obviously, as a creature, because we are going to need quite a few for that Titan, or we can then pay the 2, reconfigure it, attach it to maybe one of our flying vehicles, and then obviously this is going to enable us some card draw. And our final creature, we have 1 copy of Mirashell Crab. For 7 mana, 5 blue, we have an artifact creature crab. It's a 5/7, it's got ward 3, but it also has channel. For 2 and a blue, we can discard the crab, and we can counter target spell or ability unless its controller pays 3. For the majority of the time, we're going to be using this for its channel ability, but the added bonus of having a massive crab, just in case later on in the game, isn't a bad thing. So 1 copy of. Up next, we have our selection of vehicles, starting off with 2 copies of Mobilizer Mech. For 2 mana, 1 and a blue, we have an artifact vehicle, a 3/4 flyer, and whenever Mobilizer Mech becomes crewed, up to 1 target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until the end of turn, which is basically a free crew ability. So, excellent stuff. If we happen to be short of some Fox Pilots, this is going to help us out and enable us to then have another vehicle go in, which can possibly trigger some other things, creating some pilots with one of the vehicles that we'll be seeing shortly. Up next, we have a full playset of High Speed Hoverbike. For 2 mana, we have an artifact vehicle, a 2/2 flyer, and it has flash. When High Speed Hoverbike enters the battlefield, tap up to 1 target creature. So if we can tap down our opponent's biggest threat, that is fantastic, and it's got a crew of a cost of 1. And next we have the card. The card, this is the reason why this deck exists. We have got 3 copies of Mech Titan Core. For 2 mana, we have an artifact vehicle. It's a 2/4, it's got a crew cost of 2, but the important thing is, for 5 mana, we can exile the Mech Titan Core and 4 other artifact, creatures and or vehicles you control. And then we create Mech Titan, a legendary 10/10 construct artifact creature token with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink and haste, and it's all colours. And when the token leaves the battlefield, return all the cards exiled with Mech Titan Core except Mech Titan Core to the battlefield tapped under their owner's control. So this is absolutely fantastic. When this goes off, it's so much fun, and the main thing is to think that we need 4 plus the core. We have 5 mana, and then it will all go off. Really important to know is when those creatures or vehicles or whatever come back again, they will be able to trigger various things, put them on the stack in the order you want, and you have the opportunity of doing a lot of damage to one of your opponent's creatures thanks to one of the other artifacts that we'll be seeing very shortly. Amazing card, a world of fun when you actually see this drop. We're also going to be playing 2 copies of Dragonfly Suit for 3 mana, 2 and a white. We have an artifact vehicle, a 3/2 flyer with a crew cost of 1. Up next we have 3 copies of Prodigy's Prototype. Really like this card. For 3 mana, 1 white and a blue. We have an artifact vehicle, a 3/4 with a crew cost of 2. But whenever one or more vehicles you control attacks, create a 1/1 colourless pilot creature token with this creature crew's vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. So we've got a 3/1 as far as the crew side of things goes with this pilot, which is brilliant because apart from 1 vehicle, these 1/1s are going to be able to crew anything in this deck at all. And we also have the opportunity of having these pilots not be 1/1s but actually be a lot stronger. Amazing card, 3 copies of. And our final vehicle, we have got 2 copies of Serge Hackermeck. This is the vehicle that is going to be able to do damage to our opponents, and therefore if we happen to flicker it with our Mech Titan and it comes back to the battlefield, it's going to be doing damage yet again. So this is great. And the most expensive vehicle to crew. For 4 mana, we have got an artifact vehicle. It's a 5/5. It's got menace as well. Like I said, it has a crew cost of 4, and when Serge Hackermeck enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. This comes down, it is going to destroy something straight away. And like I said, if we can flicker it, even better. It will do its job multiple times. 2 copies, really, really good. Up next, we are going to be going through the remaining part of the deck, the stuff that doesn't happen to be a creature or potentially be a creature, the vehicles. We're going to be starting off with 2 copies of Light the Way. For 1 white mana, we have an instant with choose 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle and untap it. So multiple opportunities to have this card enable 1 creature to crew 2 vehicles. Plus, we can also return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So if for some reason we're going to get targeted, we can get it back to our hand, or we can bring back our Serge Hackermeck to replay it and deal lots and lots of artifact and vehicle damage to one of our opponent's creatures. We're also playing a full playset of Disruption Protocol. For 2 mana, blue and a blue, we have an instant, and as an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped artifact you control or pay 1 more mana, and we can counter target spell. Up next, we have 2 copies of Michiko's Reign of Truth. For 2 mana, 1 and a white, we have an enchantment, we have a saga, and the first 2 chapters are target creature gets +1/+1 to the end of turn for each artifact and or enchantment you control, and the 3rd chapter, exile this saga and then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control, turning into the portrait of Michiko, a human noble, and the human noble gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. So Michiko is going to be quite large, which is great. It's another creature as well, if we do happen to need a creature to crew, but in general it's just going to be quite a large body and hopefully going for some damage. Up next, we have 2 copies of Born to Drive. For 3 mana, 2 and a white, we have an enchantment aura. Enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 for each creature and or vehicle you control, which is pretty amazing. And we can also, for 3 mana, pay the channel cost 2 and a white. We can discard Born to Drive and create 2 1/1 colourless pilot creature tokens with this creature cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. So this is brilliant because we can pump up one of our vehicles, making it huge, or if we're really stuck and we basically don't have anything to pilot, all our foxes have perished, and we're really in need of some pilots, then this card is also going to give us the opportunity to basically pilot anything in this deck other than the Serge Hackermeck. And our final card, before we get to the land base, we've got 1 copy of Forsaken Monument. For 5 mana, we've got a legendary artifact with colourless creatures you control, get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for a colourless, add an additional colourless, and whenever you cast a colourless spell, you gain 2 life. So obviously we have a fair selection of colourless creature, artifact, vehicle things. That is going to enable us, if needed, to gain a little bit of life as we replay those. But the main part for this is basically having all our pilots become 3/3s, and as we continue to make more and more of them with Prodigy's Prototype, every time a vehicle attacks, we are going to go wider and wider, and obviously 3/3s are a lot better than 1/1s. Plus, if you needed to crew something massive, they could crew for 5, although we don't need that. 4 is our largest crew cost, but a really good way of making all those 1/1s a larger threat. And finally, we come to the mana base, which is very easy indeed. We are playing 24 lands in total, and they are 12 plains and 12 islands, and that is it for the lands. So there we have it. That is the entire standard legal deck tech with cards from Magic the Gathering's newest set, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I hope you've enjoyed this. Starfox is quite a lot of fun, I have to say. If you do play it, please let me know how you get on. Did you enjoy it? And obviously, did you change it slightly? I'd love to see your versions if you happen to do so. All I'd like to say is if you did enjoy this, please like, share and subscribe. It will support the channel. And if you would like more Cardboard Badger in your life, please check out the links in the description below. Other than that, just like to say thanks for watching, people, and we will see you again soon here on Cardboard Badger.